I'm the CFO at Galaxy Digital, and my role is one part operational, one part strategic, I would say. I think the modern sort of CFO is less of a bookkeeper and a gatekeeper in terms of money and more interested in about fueling growth and balancing that growth with efficiency and making sure we're smart with our resources, whether that's internally generated cash or externally provided capital. I sort of sit at the nexus of all of that and helping to support our mission, which is to drive volunteerism in the United States and beyond. Summer was a bit of a white knight for us. Well, I'll back up and say cash is so important to our business, and being able to execute on our plan means we have to be really disciplined and precise about how we're spending money and when, and making sure we're getting a value for that money. I think subscription management can be a bit technical, and if you don't have the right tools, it can be chaotic, and that can result in your cash being off, that you're not converting those sales into real dollars into your bank account, which is a huge drag on your ability to grow. So when I got into my seat here in March of 2023, I, of course, started to look at the tools and things that we had at our disposal. And we have a revenue management platform that we use. But the person who was currently in the seat was sort of one part sales admin, one part billing person. It wasn't really a specialist. And she ultimately decided to go do something else. And so I had to find a replacement. And I had a couple of false starts. And I think it was difficult because the tool that we use is technical and it's hard to learn. And sometimes the person who is doing collections is not the person who's a technologist or understands accounting concepts or is interested in both those sort of worlds. And so I was referred to Salma and found in her an amazing, friendly, super warm staff that could do both, and hopped into the technology and went through the orientation. I mean, it really takes 6 weeks or something before you're like a master of subscription management using the tools that we have. And they were super competent and got a grip on invoicing, billing, and cash collections. And that's sort of the really lifeblood of our organization. It's not always exciting work, and it has to be done accurately and on time and consistently, or you feel it. And they've delivered on all those fronts and more. So it started out as a way to just get a grip on our accounts receivable and our billing operations. We've over time expanded. They also provide AP services for us, so they're helping us manage our vendors. And on top of that, Selma's been a wonderful resource. Just to have a CPA a phone call away that you can call and for a sounding board or a technical question or something like that. And as I mentioned to you prior, we had gone through an acquisition, which brought in a whole lot of data that wasn't really structured to work with our system. Their team was hugely important in helping us whip that into shape and integrating it into how we function, which was just vital. They've done everything beautifully, and I'm truly amazed in the talent that she can find, and they've been wonderful to work for. We twice tried to hire a replacement, and this is before I knew of Selma. I was fortunate to be referred to her by an existing customer at AutoUp, who we work with. And the downside, the trade-off that we were weighing is obviously we've had two failures to launch, and it did hurt us in terms of cash conversion and things like that. So we were already kind of feeling the pain, and we needed confidence that in this third try that this person was going to stick around. One of the benefits of working with a professional services provider is sort of you've outsourced that function. It's not as simple as this, but whether or not the person she puts in the seat performs, they have an obligation to do the duty. And that was sort of a load off of our minds to know that, okay, however they're going to manage it, they're going to get it working right. And she gave us confidence that she could do that. One of the trade-offs is, of course, is just not having that level of control. If I have an employee, they're here the same work schedule as I am, yada, yada, yada. They're the people we work with are based in Morocco, and we weren't quite sure how we would manage sort of the time difference because collection calls have to happen during the business hours and all of that stuff. Turns out all those concerns were sort of unfounded. Cypher really operates on our schedule, and I've never encountered a single issue with really the time difference. I would say the other great benefit of Cypher is, well, if your model supports it, they do a pricing model based on sort of transactions. So rather than just taking over the function for a flat fee, so you can sort of right size the contract or arrangement with Cypher to suit your needs. And if you sign up for a year, she'll give you a discount. I don't know if she wants that advertised, but or she'll work with you month to month. And anything that else that sort of comes up that where like you don't quite have a resource in house, they're all over it. I mean, she'll volunteer to do that, and you just come up, arrange a deal to compensate them for that. So you have this extra capacity that I would never have, that I couldn't hire for on my team, that I get with Cypher. And just to, quantify it, it's me, a senior accountant, and, what was that billing specialist. And now I feel like I have access to 4 or 5 different people that have different expertise or skills that I certainly would have been able to hire directly. So it's a good trade. What was really exciting about them, and because we're a SaaS business, that they really are big proponents of using technology to set up processes and be efficient. I think a lot of times you hire someone and you just tell them how you do it, and they just jump in the seat and they start doing it. Cypher's asking, why are you doing it this way? Here's a way that you could do it better. And will also not just tell you the advice like some kind of a consultant. I mean, they roll up their sleeves and they set up some new systems for us, and things that I wanted to do for a long time, but my team didn't have the bandwidth to do. They enabled us to go pursue. So, I think that's resulted in real cost savings and efficiency, and also having someone to look at the big picture with you, make recommendations around things like tax prep or how do I book this type of weird transaction, that sort of stuff, results in real benefits that we're not necessarily paying for. It's great. I mentioned that we had some difficulty replacing our accounts receivable manager. Our accounts receivable balance when Cypher joined was quite high, probably twice as big as it ought to have been. And they are quickly solved the problem, but also helped us identify and enable a new billing system that would digitize some of our payments. So that means we're getting paid faster and more reliably. We've changed some methods in how we're doing billing, and they've basically provided a tangible benefit in keeping our AR balance, an appropriate amount based on our billing structure, but also setting us up with some new tools for managing our expenses and also stretching those out. So on the one hand, we're converting cash faster and more consistently, and on the other, we're delaying some bills and have new access to credit and things like that we didn't have before. So you combine those two things and I can stretch my dollars farther. And they've been real heroes in making sort of operational improvements that have just translated to lower days of sales outstanding and more efficient cash conversion. What would be difficult to quantify is them freeing me up from having to really focus on some of those issues in the day-to-day, but also more tangibly maybe speeding up how quickly we can close the books, how readily financial information is available to us as strategic decision makers, but also third parties, investors, and things that want to know what's going on in a timely way. And our books are more accurate because of some of the systems they put into place. So I'm grateful for all of that stuff. It sounds maybe a little boring, it's billing or something, but it spills over into so many assets or facets of what we do. I mean, no joke, I think they're the most popular people at our company. I think everybody who works with them is always just spilling over with how much they love the individuals that Selma has brought to our team. They're super reliable, professional, just sweet as can be, and you can count on them, and that's worth its weight in gold. I think the pricing is fair. Salma is also available and a great resource to you, and I have no regrets. And we are even now looking at expanding services even more. So it has been a key part to our puzzle in terms of being able to scale.